Okay, so does anybody have any questions from the material taken this morning?
Yes, Bande,
Okay.
I have a question about Sutta number 21, the Brahma Sahampati.
Excuse me?
I have a question about the Brahma Sahampati.
Yeah, Brahma Sahampati.
Yeah. Who is this person? It sounds like he knows a lot of things. He even teach the Buddha. And then you just mentioned this morning he is a non-returner, right?
I think that's according to the commentary.
Where does he learn the Buddha? Where does he learn the Dharma? From the previous Buddha?
My memory is a little vague about exactly how he fits in. Let me just see what the commentary says. Because there's no real identification of him, if I remember, in the suttas themselves, except he seems to function. There's an expression used, I think, for Greek drama called deus ex machina, which means that the gods are brought in to resolve a problem in the drama. And so Brahma Sahampati often comes in when the Buddha is, let's say, in a somewhat precarious position, a position of uncertainty, like after the Buddha's enlightenment, when he was undecided whether to teach, and then he decides it's too difficult, let me just live quietly and not try to teach. Then Brahma Sahampati comes down from the Brahma world and appeals to the Buddha. Again, he arranges the robe on one shoulder, bows down and says, "Please, Venerable, there are those with little dust in their eyes. They can understand the Dhamma." Then the Buddha decides to teach. And then there are other incidents where the Buddha is sort of undecided about something, and then Brahma Sahampati comes and appeals to the Buddha to make what he considers the desirable decision. Like there's a sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya, sutta number 67, I think, where a group of young monks comes to the monastery and they make a lot of noise, make a racket, and the Buddha dismisses them and says, "Go away, don't stay here, you can't stay here." And then Brahma Sahampati then comes to the Buddha and pleads with him, "Please don't send those monks away, they're just young. If you send them away, they're likely to get discouraged and leave the monk's life." And then the Buddha calls the monks back. So who was he? He plays this role in the suttas. What is his background? I know it would take me time to find it. I think he was supposed to have been perhaps a friend of the Buddha from a previous life, or maybe a disciple of the previous Buddha who became a non-returner under the previous Buddha, the Buddha Kassapa. And then he was reborn in the pure abodes. Is that enough, or do you want me to look in the...
That's okay.
Oh yeah, okay. He was a friend of our Buddha in the order under the time of the Buddha, Kassapa. Yeah, he was an elder monk and a companion of the Buddha in the sasana, the teaching of the Buddha Kassapa. And then he attained the first jhana, and he was reborn as a long-lived Brahma whose lifespan was the aeon in the plane of the first jhana. And there they designated him, they called him Brahma Sahampati. So that's the explanation that's given. Okay, anything else?
Thank you.
I have a non-related question to the sutta from today, but if somebody else has a sutta-related question, I'd rather yield to that first, and then I'll ask my non-related question after. Anyway.
Bhante, if we take the term Sugata into consideration, then we should take Tathagata as this gun, right?
Say again?
Because there are 9 epithets for the Buddha, and the other one is Sugata.
Yeah.
And Sugata, it's Su plus Gata.
Yeah.
So if we take that into consideration, we should take Tathagata into Tata plus Gata instead of Tata plus Agata, right?
I see. That's a good argument, yeah. But of course we can't really tell. In fact, we just have to leave it open because we can't tell what was the intention of the original compound. It works both Tathagata and Tata Agata. But the fact that there is Sugata, well gone, lends some support to giving priority to Tata plus Gata, gone thus. But there's no way to resolve the ambiguity. Okay, so Ulysses, you could ask your question.
No more sutta questions? Okay. All right. So my question is about meditation, since it's such a central to the practice. I'm rather new to this, year and a half so, and I know that I'm not really good at it, but I practice, So I did read something about the Buddha giving advice to Moggallana on how to not fall asleep and things like that.
Yeah.
What is the modern take on all of that, and how you teach your people how to meditate better, or to make it so that it's fruitful, that's purposeful?
It's too broad a question. Maybe if you specify.
Well, let's just talk about how does one how to attain better focus. That's it.
There are many different methods.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, when the mind is wandering?
Yes. Yeah, and then when you drift into sleep because of that as well.
Dealing with sleepiness or drowsiness. Okay, these are actually two sort of quite different problems. So when the mind wanders or drifts away from the object, then what I always suggest is, as soon as you can, note that the mind has wandered, make the mental note, thinking, wandering, and then gently but firmly bring the mind back to the object. And what I found just in my own experience to be useful, particularly if one is doing mindfulness of breathing, when the mind drifts, not to immediately try to bring the mind back to this small area around the nostrils, because then it's easy for the mind to slip away again. So what I say is to take a broader object. And so what I say is, when the mind has been, especially when it's been repeatedly wandering, then to come back to the posture and get a sense, a felt sense of the body as a whole, and just sort of focus on the body in the sitting posture. You could use a mental note, sitting, 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 but not getting too tied up on the verbalization, but mainly focusing on the felt sense of the body until once the mind settles into the felt sense of the body, then one could slowly turn back to the breath, especially if one is focusing on the breath here, because it's a rather small area.
It's like going from the broader to the finite.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
find the broader
Yeah.
centeredness of the whole
Yeah,
body, and
yeah,
then look the finite.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Or even what I found useful is to focus on the touch sensation of the buttocks against the seat. And one can, if one pays close attention, one could sense the difference between in-breathing and out-breathing in a difference in the feeling of the buttocks against the seat. Like when one is breathing in, there's an increase in the pressure against the seat. When one is breathing out, that pressure lightens up a little. So that gives like a broader area. And then once the mind sort of settles into that, either into the whole posture or the contact of the buttocks on the seat, then one could let the attention come back to the breath. Okay, so that is dealing with the wandering mind in meditation. Dealing with drowsiness. So somewhat difficult problem with, for a long time I haven't experienced drowsiness. It's not so much that I'm a great meditator, but I just don't experience that.
And for the record, today was the first day that I didn't feel drowsiness here.
Yeah.
But if I'm practicing by myself, you know, that's when that happens. It's almost like knowing that there's people around me that doesn't allow me too much to fall asleep. But if I'm practicing by myself,
Yeah. Okay, but what can be done? Actually, this is what I would do to counteract drowsiness. And that is to challenge oneself to move the attention to different places. So that this is the way one could do it. Choose like 5 contact points. So one would be starting with the buttocks, then moving to right knee, left knee, touch of one hand against the other. Then come back, buttocks, right knee, left knee, touch of the hands, and circulate them, not dwelling for a long time. And as soon as you pick up the sense of the contact, then move to the next contact point. And in this way, the mind is activated so that it sort of stimulates the mind.
Thank you.
And then another thing that's often recommended, this is hard to do if it's occurring in a group meditation, but if one starts to get drowsy, if you're practicing on your own, and you have a little like walkway where one could walk, not this very slow type of walking meditation, because that won't dispel the drowsiness, but at a fairly brisk pace, but working at a brisk pace, but keeping a mindfulness. So then with each step, not breaking the step down into phases, but just aware of the touch sensation of the foot on the ground, right, left, and do that for about like 10, 15 minutes. Then it forces the mind to be alert and awake. Then one could go back to the sitting. Or if you prefer, the walking meditation can be done for a long time, even 30, 40 minutes.
Okay, Bhante, this morning you mentioned about that Dabazamala.
About?
the arahant, an arahant,
Yeah.
and yeah, Tabatamala, his name. Yeah, I don't remember.
I'm not catching.
The
Maybe
arahant,
put this closer.
the arahant's name. Someone slander him.
Oh, I see. Dabba the Mala. Yeah.
Okay, and I just took this example, and I think it's kind of scary to live in the sangha. I mean, you never know. Since saints, they don't proclaim they are saints.
Yeah.
How you might accidentally slander someone who is a saint?
The simple solution to that problem is don't slander anybody.
But it's, I don't think it's possible if you look in a big group, the people.
It's one thing to sort of speak critically about the faults of somebody. It's another thing to slander somebody.
Okay, it's just another example. I read from Pi Jing. Once upon a time, Samanera comment, an arahant, he's chanting, it's like a dog. It's like a dog.
Yeah.
Then this Samanera, in his next life, 500 times become a dog.
Where did you see that story?
杂譬喻经 or 譬喻经, something like that. Yeah. Similarly.
Oh, I see. The sutras of similes. To me, it doesn't sound very convincing. In the stories, like a lot of fictional tales with the purpose is probably like to edify, so don't make critical remarks about somebody. But the idea that just by making a remark like that, you're going to be reborn as a dog. 3 times, 5 times? 5 times sounds a bit. There's another story about a monk who was very attached to his robe. And so then he got to be reborn as a kind of insect that lives within the robe. Okay, any other questions? Okay, you're wrong.
Bande, may I also ask a question about meditation?
Okay.
It seems that the meditation techniques mentioned in the sutta focus on visualization of something, either breathing or maybe the anapana is about touch.
Yeah.
Some people would say that it's actually a mental image of the breath. But either way, and then also we may have a image of the corpse that's decaying.
Oh,
image,
I see,
right?
Yeah.
So all the years I never thought about this before, it seems to me that the practice would focus on some types of mental vision.
Yeah.
It's not we're actually seeing anything, but we are drawing from our memory something we've seen before.
Yeah.
So eventually I felt that maybe the practice is about sharpening the mind, so that the mind can use a unreal image and then focus on the unreal image, and then to get to concentration. So this is definitely the practice of concentration, not vipassana.
Yeah.
But since we actually have 5 other senses, so besides touch and besides sight, the vision and the touching, is it possible we use other senses as the foundation for this mental image, or may not actually say image, mental impression?
Yeah. To my mind, it doesn't seem to work, because when one is sitting in meditation, then the other, at least smelling and tasting, are pretty much turned off. And one could use sound as an object for vipassana meditation, like focusing the attention on the sense of hearing in order to attend to any sounds that appear, to make the mental note of any sounds. And if there's no sound, then just being attentive to the silence. Then when sounds occur, being aware of the sound. But that only would work for like mindfulness leading to insight. For a samatha, for concentration, one needs something, an object that can be constantly present.
So
And
how
the only
about,
senses that work for that are touch, with the touch of the breath, or it could be some other touch point in the body, or a visualized object.
so how about the Pure Land practice of mentally chanting the Amida Buddha's name? And eventually it's not a real chant, it really is a mental impression of that sound. Would that work or that wouldn't work? I want to know if there's any fundamental reasons that that won't work.
I think that would work, but it isn't really a sound in that case, but it's what collects and focuses the mind is the mentalization, the mental recitation of the words. In a way, it's a little bit like a mantra meditation, except it has a different meaning than a mantra, but it works in that way. But it's not that one is paying attention to a sound outside.
Right, so it's still sharpening the mind.
It's sharpening the attention, yeah.
Okay, thank
So
you.
because it's a changing words, even if it's Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha, the words are changing. So it wouldn't be leading to the, or at least not directly, to a jhanic type of concentration.
And how about something like Om? Because some Buddhists would chant that.
Whether it can lead to a jhanic concentration, that I don't know. But of course the Om is used as a main object in certain types of yogic meditation. And apparently Hindu yogis get into kind of states that correspond to the jhanas.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I would think probably they might start off by mentally reciting the word Om, 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 but that is supposed to tune them into, call it the cosmic sound, the sound of the cosmos. So I would think at a certain point they actually stop the recitation of a word and then just open the awareness to, I don't know, to the cosmic vibration.
Well, if the changing sound is a problem, then why would walking meditation work? Because when we're walking, our focus of attention will shift from one point to
it's
another.
a good point, but it's the purpose of the walking meditation is not aiming at a one-pointed concentration through walking, but it's helping to collect the mind, to establish strong mindfulness and clear comprehension. And it could be building up to a concentration. But then if one wants to deepen the concentration into the, at least moving in the direction of jhana, then one would probably have to stop the walking and then go into sitting meditation. But the walking can be a very effective way for intensifying mindfulness and clear comprehension. And then it's used, it has a very important role in the development of insight, vipassana meditation, at least within certain systems of practice. Because through the walking meditation, when the concentration builds up to a sufficient extent, then one could clearly distinguish the mental aspect of walking and the physical aspect. And so one is getting a clear discernment of the difference of nama and rupa. And then through the change of the steps, then one is, like when one is doing picking, pushing, putting down, then one is building up to an insight into impermanence, how each step consists of 3 phases, and each phase just lasts for a split second. Okay, any other questions? Okay, then maybe we can call it an afternoon. Okay, so we'll end again with 3 half bows.